much about history. Don't know much biology. Don't know much about science.
It is 10:12 on this 18th day of April in the heart of the River Bend. My cord's tangled up here, Dan.
Don't trip.
No kidding. Or the whole board would have come off, you know.
Yeah, that'd be a mess.
With that being said, it's 10:12, and coming up in just a few short weeks, I can't believe how fast the month of April is just flying by. We have the opportunity to raise some awareness on suicide with the Ride to Fight Suicide, the Scott Reinke Memorial Ride. Now, this is in its third year, correct?
Yeah, this is our third year. Yeah.
And so this event is on May 27th. It starts at Ted's Motorcycle World, and this is a pretty big event that has a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah. It's been, it's been a way for us as our family, to help to deal with this tragedy and to talk about and raise awareness to suicide prevention. My uncle was an avid motorcycle rider, and he came home every Memorial Day weekend to go for a motorcycle ride with his friends and family. And what a way to keep him alive by keeping that tradition going and raising some awareness. So that maybe some other families or person doesn't have to feel that they have to
right,
commit such an act.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things, the more we can talk about it and raise awareness, I feel it makes it a little bit, I don't want to say easier, but makes it a little bit more achievable to really, make some progress in this. And, with that being said, what was the idea? Was it just to kind of incorporate, Scott's, love for, riding and tie that into, create this greater message to reach, and raise awareness to help, hundreds and hopefully, thousands of people that are fighting this each and every day?
Yeah, absolutely. So, he took his own life in 2020. And in 2021, like I said, he always came home Memorial Day weekend. So we decided to put together a ride in 2021, kind of in his honor. And, while we were on that ride, we had about 75 people. And while we were on that ride, we thought, man, it sure would be a good idea to use this opportunity to maybe raise some money and donate it to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And so when I contacted the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention last year, and we got everything set up with those guys, come to find out they have this thing called Ride to Fight Suicide, so they already had this branded thing that we could kind of grab a hold of. So that's what we've done. I'm just an event coordinator for this event for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention Illinois chapter.
I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better fit, it seems like. That's a hand-in-hand type of, situation.
Absolutely.
Really cool. And so with that being said, whenever you're looking, I'm sure you were looking and scouring through foundations and organizations. What stood out to you about the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention over all others?
Well, there was a lot of things that they had going on. So obviously having chapters in every state gave us a local, someone local to work with, right? And we wanted to see our money put together like locally. Right? So the funds that we raised here locally, we wanted to be able to put them into action here locally. The funds that we raised last year, those went towards the 988 phone number, which unlike 911, which is a federally funded program, 988 is not.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. So it just came out last year, and all the money that we raised last year, we just put that towards that. So, the cool thing about going with the Illinois chapter and having that local thing is we get to choose what it is that we want to do with that money. So we'll have a meeting later on in the year after this event's all over and figure out what we want to do to help this community.
Absolutely. And with that being said, let's go through an overview of the event, just what it looks like on the 27th. So it starts at Ted's Motorcycle World. Now, registration, we're starting here at 9 a.m. for registration. So this is a pretty long event throughout the day?
Yeah. So there's some people, so registration can be done online by going to afsp.org/Scott Reinke Ride. Okay. So people can go there and register and donate or anything like that right away. And then, so that registration event's going to be from 9 until 11:30. We'll actually leave kickstands up from Ted's at 12 o'clock on the dot. And we're going from there and heading to the hog pit. The Hog Pit is also one of our sponsors, so we'll be stopping there. We'll have about 2 hours there at the Hog Pit for food and beverages, and he's going to have music and stuff there for us. Corey's taking care of us, and then from there we're leaving there and heading to the Barefoot up in Hardin. So we're going to go across the Brussels ferry, probably take 2 ferries to get us over there, but obviously no traffic on the other side, right? Where are they going to come from?
Right.
Yeah, so we'll just sit there and wait for the second ferry, and then we'll head up to Hardin, and then from there we leave there, and Brian's got band and stuff up there for us too, up at the Barefoot, and then we're going to be going down to Bluff City is where we're going to end out the ride at, and Kathy's got a very nice event space out there, the patio out there for us. We're going to have bands at all 3 locations. We're going to have raffle prizes and door prizes. Door prizes will be given away at each particular location.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so there's some stuff for everybody. If everybody can't do the whole day,
Right.
We have so anybody that pre-registers for this event, that registers online, they're going to get a T-shirt. I'm wearing a volunteer shirt, but it's got this logo on it, and then it'll have all the sponsor information and stuff on the back. They'll get a T-shirt, a pin, and they'll get a patch, along with some other stuff from our sponsors that'll be shoved in all the bags.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Really cool. And I want to ask you this. It's got to feel nice knowing that you have organizations, from out the community really, putting some, whether it's finances, whether it's just some space, whether it's just some of their time, really coming and supporting you on this. I mean, that's got to feel really good to know that you're really achieving that next step with, growing this and making sure it reaches more people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole idea with this was to give some purpose to the tragedy that's happened within our family. This is not the first in my family.
Right.
Okay. So it's always been referred to as the accident, or and we just said, hey, let's talk about it. This was not an accident, right? Yeah. This was preventable. Suicide in Illinois is the third leading from ages 10 to 24, as well as from 25 to 34. Wow. The third leading cause of death in the state of Illinois. That's pretty huge.
It is.
There's more people that died in 2019 from suicide than did from alcohol-related motor vehicle accidents.
Well, it's an alarming number, and it's really eye-opening. But it really takes, to me, to really raise that awareness and really get to the point where we're having honest conversations, and not ones where you kind of gotta tiptoe around because you don't know how they're going to look. It takes someone like yourself that's been through this, and it takes a lot to go. You know what? Let's get rid of the nickname. This is what happened, and let's talk about this. Like you just said, I mean, how hard was it as a family to make that decision?
Well, I mean, for us, it's a way to heal. Mm-hmm. Okay, and empathy is something that is immeasurable. Someone that doesn't know what that's like just doesn't know what that's like.
Yeah.
But those that have, and doing this has brought together a lot of people. Like last year was our first official year with the AFSP, with all the organization and stuff like that behind it, right? And there were so many people that came to us and says, "Hey, we want to help you with this event next year." And we've been able to get some of those people, rallied up for this year, helping us out, and it's been a great help. But there's a lot of moving parts to this, and we're still looking for volunteers to help with the event. We're still looking for sponsors to help to pay for some of this stuff. I mean, like I say, there's a lot of moving parts to it.
There are, and it's no easy feat, any event. But whenever you have different destinations, you're going, from point A to point B to point C to point D.
Yeah.
A lot of things are going on in that.
Yeah.
And what was the hardest part? Getting this set up. Was it just the donation side? Was it getting some funds put across? Was it just organizing it as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, the whole organization process, like it ended last year in August. We had our last committee meeting, July. Sorry. We had our last committee meeting in July. And then we went on break until January. But we've been meeting every 2 weeks since January for this event. And for the month of May, it was every month for January and February. And then since March and April, we've been meeting every 2 weeks. And then as of May, we're going to meet every week. And we do that on Zoom. So I mean, people
cool.
can do that from the convenience of the comfort of their home.
That's one good thing COVID gave us, I guess, was Zoom.
It did, yeah. If I'd have known, I'd have invested in that.
I'm telling you what, if we had a time machine, forget Apple. I'd have been on Zoom.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you said last year, the organization comes a part of it. Take us through that transition because, you had this before, but, just to kind of highlight that and go a little bit deeper, what's it like to really, from an organizer standpoint, to have that, really solid organization behind you on this saying, hey, we're going to take you under our wing and you're a part of this with us. What was that transition? Did it make it 10 times easier?
Yeah, that structure made it so simple because, with the first time doing it, we just kind of got together and did it. Right. And we said, hey, we need to do this, next year and kind of give some purpose to it. And we were just trying to figure out, how we could donate money to these guys. And then come to find out they have this whole structure that's already all laid out for us,
Right.
So, Angela, she's the president of the Illinois chapter, and she's, provided us with outstanding resources, for both putting on the event, for talking to sponsors, merchandise, all of the swag and stuff that they have to offer, that we kind of give away, and literature, So we're going to be doing another event up here at Ted's on the 29th of April, and that's they're having a blood drive there, KC Blood Drive.
I just talked about it,
yeah. So we're going to be there at that KC Blood Drive again. So we were there last month at their event, and we're going to be there again this month on the 29th. We're going to be doing registration and sign up there. We'll also have I hope to have some merchandise available, some shirts available to buy, because there's been lots of people asking to buy shirts. Just buy them now. So we're hoping to have some of those. I don't think they'll be sponsor branded ones, but they'll be Ride to Fight Suicide, right? They'll be for the cause, and they'll be supporting that cause. And then we'll be doing registration and awareness, and we'll have literature and stuff like that for people. A lot of vets. I don't have the information with me for veteran suicide, but it is
astronomical.
Crazy. Yeah, it is. It's
well, and actually, before I came over here and started doing my shows on St. Louis radio, and one of the shows I produced was just for veteran, rights and talking about what the VA's done. And to have to hear some of these numbers and especially from the veteran side of things going, there's no reason for this. We got to find a better way to combat this and at least do the best we can to help. And it starts with these things. Because,
it starts with talking about it. Exactly, CJ. Stop talking about it like it's an accident. Stop treating it like the family secret. Growing up as a kid, my grandfather committed suicide when I was young, and it was just this family. It was this shameful family secret, and everybody kind of talked about. The neighbors whispered about it, and.
Well, it circles back, Dan, to what I was kind of getting at, because it's one of those where when I started the show, because over across the river, it's like, do not talk about, we talk politics, that was talk at the point of the show, but abortion, gun control, all that stay away. I've talked about everything on here because it's how you talk about it. If you're doing it from a way that's, just raising a point of awareness or raising some type of thought, then I think it's more than okay and more than acceptable, just like this. And I got to ask you, when you're doing this year, and you're 3 now, have you had families go, that have suffered a similar tragedy going, hey, you know what, this gives us hope and some inspiration to really, look at this differently?
Absolutely. And you kind of mentioned that earlier, so having this organization behind us, and then, having a sponsor like Ted's Motorcycle World that's putting the information out there, we're allowing us to host this event there, because of their reach, right? It reached a lot of people, and we had a lot of people come up to us and say, hey, we really want to help with this, so there was so many, dozens of people at the ride last year, dozens. I would say probably 25 or so that had been affected by it directly. Wow. Families.
And that's what I was kind of curious about. Yeah. And to me, that's just staggering. There's not even a word or an adjective I can put behind that.
Once again, that family secret, that, that shameful past, that's something that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah, and with that being said, if you're just joining us, we're talking about the Ride to Fight Suicide. This is the 3rd annual event to benefit Scott Reinke, my apologies. The Memorial Ride to Fight Suicide starts at 9 a.m. at Ted's Motorcycle World. Kickstands up at 9?
At noon.
At noon, sorry. Yeah. kickstands up at noon. I have a lot of papers I'm looking through right now because there's so many great points because I want to hit them all. I mean, the big one is too, though, because we're a couple of weeks out, but it's creeping closer. It's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah,
it's like anything, any event, Dan, it's like you're 4 months out and then you're 3 hours out. It's just like flip of a switch. How can we help you? If a business wants to be a part of this, can they donate? If someone wants to volunteer, can we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to do that is by going to that website.
Yeah.
So by going to afsp.org/Scott Reinke Ride, that's Reinke. They can go there, and then all of my contact information is there, right? So if businesses wanted to help out and say help us out with door prizes and stuff that we're giving away, or donation items that they want to do, like we've got Cardinals packages, we've got some nice raffle items that are coming up. So we're still building and growing some of those. So if any businesses have interest in helping out with some of that stuff, we would love to talk to them. And then, of course, like I say, we're taking donations through, and they can make donations straight through the website. If they're interested in sponsor packages, there's my phone number and an email address on there where they can contact me directly. And we'd be happy to, come and meet with them and talk with them,
Really cool. And like I said, I think this is going to be a great event with a great turnout. It's at multiple locations. But I wanted to talk about something. I was trying to find a way to tie this in, but you handed me a sheet before we came on the air, and it was top 10 tips to reporting on, suicide. And to me, it seems like we're starting to see more and more of these, materials, these resources out there for us just to kind of take note of and recognize. And is there a way for us to, people at home, do you have any type of, just direction? Hey, if you want to learn more about these, things to look for, is the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention that kind of go-to spot?
I mean, it is a wealth of information. I mean, you can get lost in there.
Really?
But there's so much information there. Yeah. They have all kinds of different things that they do and helping other people. So, there's the Out of the Darkness. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. They do walks, and stuff like that, and they do sponsors, and kind of families get together and do that. Usually, it's families of victims, right? That get together and they put their loved one's name on their team and they walk for them and they have people sponsor and raise money. But there's just a ton of different things that they do. I mean, there's ones that's hiking, and depending on where you're at in the country, there's some that are like mountain climbing things, and you wouldn't believe all of the different types of events that they have.
Yeah.
And of course, anybody that needs help, the idea of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is to provide resources to those with mental illness, right? And to provide resources to families who have dealt with this, or even people who have made attempts, right?
To me, and that's what's really alarming. I mean, if you really look and just ask, I'm sure there's folks that have experienced at least someone in their lives that's attempted something, or unfortunately taken that next step.
Yeah.
And like if we talked about multiple times already, the more we can talk about this, raise awareness, get together and just show some support, and really show that we're here to start acknowledging and really talking about this and taking this on.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there someday.
Yeah, people just need to understand that they're not alone, and that these thoughts that they're having are not unique, and a lot of people have them, and that there's help out there, and coming from, I'm not trying to exclude females here, right?
No.
But men, we don't typically talk about our problems. Girls, they talk girl talk,
Right.
we got something going on, we get together, we go fishing, or we go together, do an activity,
right?
And we don't talk about it. We take our minds off of it,
right?
And that's been our way to deal with things. Where a lot of times, I'm not saying that ladies don't,
right? No, not at all.
Because they do, but I think that they're less likely.
You're right. And then with especially
they have a built-in support system.
You're right, and you're right. You guys kind of seem to bottle it up. Maybe drink, have a
banter,
have a Coors Light,
and
this happened today, and you move. But you aren't really talking about it. You're just kind of band-aiding it. You at least set it. You move on, and you're absolutely right. And especially
sweeping it under a rug. Yeah. never gets addressed.
Yeah, and that's something that I've seen time and time again. When I owned a business, I sold out, partnered out, went into a whole different field because it was time, and went through the waves of depression and all that. Took the Prozacs of the world, and I'm honest about it. But there's so many to me especially younger men out there that feel like they're looking at all these influencers and young women that see these individuals on TikTok and Snapchat, and they're renting some billionaire's plane and making you feel like you aren't achieving, and it all adds to it. But I think with things like this, where we can start learning about suicide awareness and tips that we can use to go, hey, something's kind of off there. Let's look into this a little bit further. Let's check in on whoever.
Absolutely.
And let's do this. So with that being said, I got to ask you, between yourself and Scott, who was better on the bike?
Well, Scott's definitely had a decade more experience than I. He was 10 years and 2 days older than I.
Okay.
And our relationship, I have some siblings, but they're a lot younger than me. They're 14 and 15 years younger than me.
Wow.
So Scott was kind of like my older brother, you know. So he was always one that I looked up to and always wanted to mimic and be like. And I always kind of idolized him. And he was an avid snowmobiler. He actually moved away from here to Colorado after high school. He moved to Colorado and spent his life there. But he spent every summer back here with family and friends, right, riding motorcycles. And but he spent his winters, with his love of snowmobiling.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually.
Yeah, he had a real cool old, I think it was a 1974 CB750.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's actually awesome. That's badass.
Yeah, 754. He restored it.
And now what are you riding around in at the Memorial Ride? What are you going to be in?
I've got a street glide, a 2020 street glide, yeah.
I'm just curious. I got to ask before I let you go. I need all these questions answered, man.
Yeah. Well, all motorcycles are welcome. Last year we had a bunch of trikes, and we had a bunch of the Can-Am Spiders and stuff like that. We're welcome to have cars come. Last year we had quite a few classic cars. We had some supercars that followed along, and we welcome anyone to join. Okay, so in the registration pack, which, like I say, they can do online, and we'll have all those things prepared for them. They'll be able to go to a pre-registered spot. Last year, registration was a very long line because a lot of people didn't register online beforehand.
Yep.
So there was literally 100 people standing in line waiting to get registered.
Oh, good night.
And it was difficult. So if people are planning on going, it's a good idea just to go ahead and get pre-registered. This is a rain or shine event. Okay. So these things are going to be happening at these time frames at these different locations. Now, if it rains, we're going to try to reschedule that ride to a different time. But as far as the rest of the festivities go, the fundraising activities are still going to happen, even if it's raining.
Absolutely. And Dan, you're welcome back anytime to talk more about the a great organization, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I want to make sure I get it right because, we have a text line here.
Yeah.
And so you can hear the phone ding and you saw me kind of looking down.
Yeah.
They ride me anytime I mispronounce something. And rightfully so. You guys have every right to. I get paid to do this job. So I'm like looking down going, please, please, please. Okay, good. We're in the clear.
Yeah.
But I mean that because you're a wealth of knowledge. And I think that you're an inspiration for folks that, like you said earlier on, man, it's like the black cloud, that dark cloud over the family. And it doesn't need to be that way anymore. And we can still celebrate, someone who's a great individual that loved, the family and the family loved them and the community. And we can celebrate that and celebrate the person and raise awareness on this very serious matter.
Absolutely.
And Dan, is there anything else that we need to talk about before I let you go today?
No, I don't think so, man. I thank you very much for having me on the show. Honored to be here. Thanks for taking interest in such a cause that's so close to my heart and has touched my life and my family's and many others. So,
well, anytime I can
be smart about mental health.
Absolutely, and anytime it can be of assistance, if you want to come on and talk about any other events you got coming up, you're more than welcome. And really, really appreciate you taking the time to really put yourself out there and talk about this. It really means a lot to me too.
Thank you very much.
10:35 on this 18th day of April. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, talk to Luis Noya. He was in the Cardinals clubhouse after, God dang, man, we can't pitch to save our life. We'll find out what Luis thinks after this in downtown Alton.